Padres spring training is less than a month away, and I have more questions and answers than I do when it comes to these Friars. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Friar Territory on the Foul Territory TV network. I am Marty Caswell. That is Kyle Glaser. Kyle, I cannot believe that we are weeks away from spring training. But before we get to the biggest issues surrounding this Padres team, and I think it's still their pitching, there's a bit of news when it comes to one of their signings this offseason. And that would be infielder Sung Mun Song. I think Jiho Yu of the Yonhap News reported over the weekend that he suffered, those dreadful words, an oblique injury. What do we know about this injury, and how could it affect him and his preparations to make a roster spot?
Yeah, so all we know so far is that the oblique injury occurred. I'm sure once he gets to camp, we'll have some more answers. But oblique injuries are tricky, and you don't want to push it. We are only 22 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting. It's kind of crazy. Everything is coming up on us real fast. Yeah. In terms of Sung Mun Song, the reality is he signed a big league deal. The Padres have needs at minimum on the bench, potentially depending on trades that are made. They could have a starting spot open on the infield. I wouldn't worry too much about him making the roster out of opening day. It's just a matter of him being healthy.
Kyle, you're making it sound almost as matter of fact that he's going to make this roster. I know when we spoke with him to his introductory Zoom a couple of weeks ago, I mean, he was saying that his number one goal was to make sure that he made this roster. I know he was asked at the end of the interview, like, are you going to play in the WBC? And he didn't really answer that question. I'd imagine that when you're transitioning to a completely new league, new team, new culture, everything, leaving your team for the WBC is the last thing you want to do. But are you sure that he has a spot on this roster?
A big part of it is just where the Padres are in terms of what other options they have in terms of infield depth at AAA, guys that can fill out bench spots. Look, in theory, yes, if he came in and just looked completely overmatched and wasn't ready, could we see him potentially sent down to AAA to start the year? Yeah, it's always possible. Never say never. But given the fact he was given a big league deal, given the Padres' needs on their bench, it would have had to have been a really, really, really bad spring training, and a few other guys would have had to have really, really, really good spring training. So, but look, you want him to have that mindset of, I'm going in, I'm being given nothing, I have to go out and win a spot. That's the mindset you want from your players. Again, realistically, just given the way the Padres roster is constructed right now, yeah, he's in a great spot to make the team as long as he's healthy. He should be on the opening day roster, barring a flurry of trades and all of a sudden this team looks very, very different, which could still happen. We're talking about A.J. Preller at the end of the day.
We are talking about A.J. Preller again today, and I do want to go ahead and get to that rotation. I promise you we're going to get there, but before we do, all right, I have been bugging you. I've been waiting, begging for some movement to happen in Major League Baseball, and it finally happened. I just figured that once you had the big guys off the market, that could lead to some more trades. Still waiting for that to happen. I'm not sure that I was expecting Kyle Tucker to end up with the Dodgers. What did you make of that massive, massive deal? And why can he opt out? Why did they construct it that way?
Yeah, so first and foremost, like everyone else, my eyebrows went up and I went, whoa, when I saw the deal break. Both just the fact he signed with the Dodgers and the $60 million average annual value he got. Yes, net present value, it's going to be $57 million. Certainly eyebrow raising for a lot of reasons. This is a Dodgers team that, look, as much as we can talk about all the things that people don't like about them, do like about them, the simple fact is they are the back-to-back defending World Series champion, and they're even better now this year. So I will say that with the opt-outs, a lot of this is we have seen, and I alluded to this earlier in the offseason, but we have seen a lot of teams very hesitant to hand out 7-year deals, 8-year deals, now 10-year deals. We haven't really seen that this offseason, aside from Dylan Cease getting his 7-year deal. It's been 4, it's been 5 with different opt-outs, deferrals, a lot of 3-year deals. Some of that is teams just don't know what the labor situation is going to be, what the economics of the game are going to look like in 2027, 2028. And the players don't either. So from the player perspective, the opt-outs give them some flexibility where, hey, if all of a sudden, there's more constraints, I'm sitting pretty, I can just stay in my contract, or if something changes, they have the ability to opt out. So right now, both teams and players want some financial flexibility in the future just because of the uncertainty of the labor market.
Kyle, you were pretty, right. You were adamant just a couple weeks ago when we opened up the mailbag to Padres fans. And by the way, you can still do that. Send your questions to @Kyle Glaser, @Marty Caswell, @Friar Territory. We will answer them on the next show. I'm sorry, we got sidetracked with Buddy Black last week, but you were adamant that a work stoppage was coming. Do you think this just adds a bit more fuel onto the discussions for some smaller market teams?
Again, it's not really being adamant. It's just doing the reporting. I mean, I'm not kidding. Look, you cannot get everyone in Major League Baseball to agree on anything, right? Owners,
Right.
players, agents, league officials. There's always been disagreements. I'm not kidding when I say it is unanimous. All the stakeholders, like, yeah, there's going to be a lockout. When the CBA expires in December, there will be a lockout. No one I have spoken to, and no one that anyone has really spoken to, denies it. It's just a matter of what the length will be. And there's no question that there was already a sense among small and even mid-market owners that, yeah, maybe there's a little more willingness to have a lengthy lockout to get what they want. And this will just add more fuel to the fire. Again, a lockout was already going to happen. There was already a risk that was going to be somewhat lengthy. And this just adds more fuel to the fire. You would hope that everyone involved realizes the amount of money they stand to lose with a lengthy lockout
Yep.
and the amount of momentum they stand to lose with a lengthy lockout. But you have a lot of big egos. You have a lot of owners who believe the game is at sort of an existential inflection point. Whether that's an exaggeration, it's what they believe. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the next 12 months play out. I guess at this point, 11 months play out as we lead up to the expiration of the current CBA. But there's no question this certainly adds more fuel to the fire amongst the small market owners and some mid-market owners who are already feeling pretty dug in on this.
By the way, I can't believe I'm going to say this, and this is the last thing I'll say on Kyle Tucker. At the 60 million per season, I would, when I saw that, and the shock is one thing, but I could also make the argument that given that Shohei Ohtani he's underpaid. He's underpaid in the Dodgers, given what all the value he brings, the marketing money that he brings, the exposure he does to the sport internationally. You can argue underpaid, renegotiate that deal.
Well, I mean, go back. I talked about this. Obviously, I was still at Baseball America when he signed, and I've covered Ohtani since he was in Japan and saw even the impact he had in the Angels. You can go back and listen. This isn't hindsight. I said it the day he signed with the Dodgers, that 10-year, $700 million deal. The Dodgers will make that back no problem. Just in terms of what he brings in terms of sponsorships, ticket sales, merch, I mean, the marketing dollars. There are some people out there, again, the books are never open, so you don't really know, but there are some people out there who claim they've already essentially made it back. But is Shohei Ohtani bringing in $70 million a year for the Dodgers? The answer is absolutely yes. Independent of what he does on the field, his on-field value, just what he brings in terms of sponsorship, marketing, tickets. Then you add in what he does on the field. And then you add in the fact that a lot of the money is deferred. So in terms of present-day value, it's closer to $46 million. Yeah, the Dodgers made an incredible investment that is paying off in spades for the fact they signed Shohei Ohtani, period, and then the fact that he was willing to give them the deferrals, A, that allows them to do things like go sign Kyle Tucker, but B, it just adds even more value to the signing for the Dodgers strictly from a financial perspective.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't mean to roll my eyes. I'm very expressive. I have a terrible poker face, which I've been told for all my years in radio, and I think I rolled my eyes about 25 times when we spoke about the Dodgers and their payroll and Shohei Ohtani. I'll stop doing that. Also, Bo Bichette goes to the Mets. I think he was the runner-up for Steve Cohen. Saw the white smoke. But that being said, what are the top free agents out there? And I don't think the Padres are going to be in on any of them, right? But who are the best free agents left? Position players.
Yeah, well, we talked about this, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I said, we're going to start seeing these guys sign. And what do you know? Alex Bregman signed. Kyle Tucker signed. Bo Bichette signed. Realistically, now, Cody Bellinger is the best position player left on the market. We still have a lot of the top pitchers on the board. We saw Ranger Suarez sign with the Red Sox, but look, Framber Valdez is still available. Zach Gallen's still available. There's still some high-end guys available, but we are going to start seeing, okay, particularly on the position player side now, more and more of the middle tier start to come off the board. And same on the starting pitching side. A lot of the relievers are already off the board. But again, the position players and starting pitchers, it's only a matter of a week or two once the remaining big guys sign. Then we'll start seeing the middle tier guys come off the board more.
Okay, let's get to the starting pitchers when we come back. I want to discuss how that impacts the Padres and what they can do. We know that we think Nick Pivetta is still going to be a Padre. They have Michael King, Joe Musgrove's coming back. But what about the rest of the rotation? I'll hit that with Kyle Glaser when we come back.
Nobody likes a bloated cell phone bill. It can consume you. It can take over. It can be very annoying. So I know that 2025 ended Kratz, and that's when you have your end of year sales. But there actually is still one sale that is running until the end of the month.
Mint Mobile. They still have their 50% off their unlimited premium wireless offer that you got to go and get and take advantage of because it's not necessarily going to be around all the time.
And all plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Quit overspending on wireless with 50% off unlimited premium wireless. Plans start at $15 a month at mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory. Limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months. Plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Over 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com.
Hey, welcome back on Friar Territory. I am Marty Caswell. That is Kyle Glaser. Before we get to the Padres pitching woes or their pitching challenges, I do want to mention that I promise you guys, we will answer your questions on the Padres in the next show. So don't forget, send your questions to @Kyle Glaser, @Marty Caswell, @Friar Territory, and we will answer them, I think, on Thursday. Okay, Kyle, so we know that for now, Nick Pivetta is still a member of the San Diego Padres, as is Michael King. Joe Musgrove is coming back. But what do you make of the rest of this rotation? What's realistic? What's possible? How many more pitchers do they need to add to that starting rotation?
Well, we've talked about this. Realistically, you want to add at least one more starting pitcher. But I do want to dive into J.P. Sears and Randy Vasquez here for a minute.
Okay.
Because as we've talked about, the Padres have some payroll constraints. They need to make trades to clear payroll. But let's pretend for a second, or just theorize that for whatever reason, the trades don't materialize, and this is what they have to go into the season with. I think there are reasons to have faith. And I just look back to last year where, with Michael King getting hurt, with Yu Darvish not making that a camp, there were a lot of the same questions, like how are they going to fill out this rotation? And we know with Ruben Yabla and Ben Fritz, they have a really, really good pitching infrastructure and helping guys get better. And we saw Stephen Kolek, Ryan Berger, Randy Vasquez all step up and really stabilize the rotation. I think going into the year, you would have been really concerned about their ability to do so. And they all did in different ways. So with that, I think with Sears and Vasquez, it's important to note, I'll start with Randy Vasquez, right? Yes, the peripherals were not great, but he in a lot of ways was the Padres' second best starter last year. Gave him 130 plus innings, ERA in the threes. And I think what was really encouraging about Randy Vasquez is we saw the stuff really tick up when he came back in September. He was living at 95 with a lot of 97s in there. If he can maintain that uptick in stuff, there's no reason he can't be a solid number 4, number 5. And I think it's important that, again, a lot of people just scout the stat line, look at the peripherals and say it's ugly. But the peripherals got better as the year went on, and the stuff got better as the year went on. If he can be the Randy Vasquez we saw in September, I do think the Padres will be okay with him in their number 4 spot. And we'll get to J.P. Sears in a second. But, I mean, okay. Marty, you saw a lot of Vasquez. We all saw the progression through last year. What are your thoughts on him and just being a fixture of the rotation, whether it's in the number 4 or 5 spot?
His ability to get himself in trouble and working out of jams
yes.
was something. I think that really frustrated his pitching coach, or maybe it impressed him. And one thing, when Craig Stanman joined the fellas on Foul Territory last week, he was talking about the rotation. He was talking about how Yu Darvish he's going to be around this Padres team the entire season, right? And he said the one guy that he's really developed a bond with is Randy Vasquez. So I'm really looking forward to seeing like the type of mentoring that Yu Darvish can provide to someone like Vasquez. And this is a guy that wants to learn, right? So I'm excited to watch Randy Vasquez really take that next step this season.
No question.
And this is a guy that wants it too.
And again, the peripherals are out there, and you're right. He pitched himself into trouble and pitched himself out of trouble a lot. But at the end of the day, the name of the game is run prevention. I thought showed some mental toughness. So I think everything we're talking about, right? The improvement as the year went on. The stuff. He also showed a big spike in his innings pitched, so we saw increased durability. There are a lot of things trending up here. So I don't want to completely discount it as, if the Padres go into opening day and, Randy Vasquez is in the rotation, they're screwed. Nothing could be further from the truth. I think, again, you feel better with him as your number 5.
Okay.
But again, in the event that they aren't able to make another starting pitching addition, again, just given the history of the Padres, what they've done on the pitching side, how they've helped young guys get better and take steps forward and be better than expected at the start of seasons, I do think it's important to give Randy Vasquez credit and not completely discount the fact that, look, a modest improvement, just a slight one, would be 150 innings at like a 3.7, 3.6 ERA. That would be more than fine for a number 4 starter, and especially a number 5 starter.
If that happens, we can say in earnest the Padres won the Juan Soto trade.
Again, there's a lot of layers to that. But the other guy here, Marty, that I think is the big wild card is J.P. Sears.
Yes.
So J.P. Sears, look, no sugarcoating it, was not good when he came over after the trade with the A's. Just was not good. Got demoted to AAA. It was not a good year for him. It wasn't a good year in Sacramento, not Oakland, and it wasn't a good year when he came to San Diego. That said, you go back and look at who J.P. Sears was the previous 2 seasons. He was a pretty durable, reliable back-end starter. Again, not sexy. But he gave the A's 170 innings and 180 innings the previous 2 years. ERA in the mid-4s. Again, it's not fantastic. It's not great. But that's a lot better than a lot of number 5 starters out there. And you can live with that as your number 5 starter. Again, it's a deep pitch mix. He's left-handed. He doesn't walk batters. He's not going to strike a ton of guys out. But a 4.5 ERA, 180 innings, that's a guy who consistently gives you 6 innings, 3 earned runs allowed. If you're getting that out of your number 5 starter consistently, you're in really good shape. So, again, I want to see what steps he can take now that he's going to have a full year in San Diego. He's got, an offseason behind him. He knows where he's going to be. He can really work with Ruben Niebla and Ben Fritz. If the Padres can get 2023, 2024 J.P. Sears as their number 5 starter, they'll be okay. So again, would you feel better about having a solid, proven number 4, Vasquez is your 5, and then, Sears provides depth and Waldron provides depth? Yeah, you would. But I don't want to completely rule it out that Vasquez and Sears are serviceable in the number 4 and 5 spots.
Okay, I'm sorry. You mentioned a name I was going to ask you about, and that's Matt Waldron, because he seemed to go MIA from the Padres. This guy was a pivotal piece for the team in 2024. They are not a postseason team without the contributions of Waldron, especially in the early half. What happened with Waldron last season?
So this is sort of the tricky part with Matt Waldron, right? And you're right. In 2024, he was great in the first half. Randy Vasquez was terrible in the first half. In the second half, Randy Vasquez was better, and Matt Waldron was terrible in the second half. Matt Waldron's best pitch is his knuckleball. And when he leans into his knuckleball is when he's best. But because he was sort of a late-to-the-game knuckleballer, he still falls way too much into the, hey, I've got my fastball, I've got my slider, and they're just not effective pitches. It's a situation where he really needs to be knuckleball first, and then that 92-mile-an-hour fastball is a change of pace pitch. It can't be, hey, I'm going to try and set hitters up, fastball, breaking ball, and then finish them with the knuckleball. A lot of it with him is approach, and this is something he has struggled with at various points over the course of his career. So if he can really, really lean into the knuckler, and I'm talking make that a 70% pitch, an 80% pitch, yeah, there's no reason. We've seen, especially, and I wrote a feature about this, a lot of younger hitters, teams with younger lineups, they've never seen a knuckleballer. Not at any level. Some of the older guys have, but it's an advantage. So, again, to me, it's an approach thing, it's a pitch selection thing, and I'll be curious to see if after these last 2 seasons, it's kind of clicked and he realizes, okay, this is who I need to be.
Anybody else in the system that you think will be in legit competition for the number 5 spot? There's the Kyle Harts and the Matt Waldrons, but give us a name that we're not really familiar with.
The short answer is, who's in the organization right now? No, I think it's Vasquez and Sears are kind of at the top of the pack, just given what they've shown they can do, with Waldron kind of a little bit behind them. Kyle Hart, potentially, but again, he would have to have an amazing camp, and the other 3 guys would have to have a terrible camp for that to happen. We've talked about, right? Miguel Mendez was added to the 40-man roster. It's real stuff against triple-digit heat. It's a power slider. He has also barely pitched above the Class A levels. He got a brief taste of Double A last year. He needs more time. If he's in the Padres starting rotation out of camp, something has gone really wrong in terms of a number of starting pitchers getting hurt. He needs really a half season at Double A and then probably some time at Triple A too. The fastball slider combination and the improved control he's shown, he could probably work in a bullpen fairly quickly, but to be a starter in the major leagues, he needs to develop that third pitch. The control and the command still need to take some steps forward, and just getting used to facing better hitters who aren't going to chase out of the zone as much. So In theory, is he in the mix? Yeah. If he's on the opening day roster as a starter, something has gone really, really wrong, though.
Okay, last thing, Kyle. Ken Rosenthal had a fascinating tidbit about the Padres' attempted search for a first baseman, and that would be Nolan Arenado, who ended up with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Why on earth would the Padres have pursued Nolan Arenado, who, by the way, he and Manny Machado, two of the greatest defensive third basemen I have seen in the past 20 years. I mean,
Oh, gosh,
phenomenal, right? Right. And I mean, there was a time where like Manny wasn't winning a Gold Glove because Arenado was getting that. Was always winning the Gold Glove. But why would the Padres have pursued him, and how would he have fit this team?
So we've talked about the Padres could really use a right-handed complement at first base, and that was what they were pursuing in regards to Nolan Arenado. They were going to make him their first baseman. Again, Gavin Sheets is DH. Maybe you do some platooning here and there. One of the things that we have seen, and the greatest criticism of AJ Preller, and again, he deserves credit for a lot of things. There are also some legitimate criticisms.
Yes.
That he will chase the big, big, big names, even when it's clear they just don't have a lot left. We have seen that repeatedly over the years. I want to start, look, Nolan Arenado, as you said, one of the best defensive third basemen of his generation, one of the best third basemen, period. He has had an unbelievable career. He has a very real Hall of Fame case. You compare his numbers with Scott Rowland's, they're very much in line, even taking Colorado and all the years in Coors Field into account. He is also going to be, just staying the facts as they are.
Okay.
He is also going to be 35 years old in April. He has declined offensively 3 years running. And it's just not clear how much is left. And again, it's not any failing of his. It's just, as we've talked about, generally speaking, again, there are exceptions. I've listed a bunch of them. But generally speaking, we see this a lot, that position players, even the stars, age 34 is kind of the last productive season. Once they get to 35, there's steep drop-offs. Again, Freddie Freeman's an exception. Justin Turner's an exception. JD Martinez is an exception. George Springer had a bounce back year, so exceptions happen. But given the age, given the trend line of the last 3 years, it's hard to sit here and say that Nolan Arenado would have rediscovered, even just a 20 homer, 270-20 homer type of season. I mean, it was really, really bad last year. And yes, he had a finger injury, but even before the finger injury, it was not good.
Wow. Well, if you're the Padres fans, you're hoping that those numbers don't apply to one of your players who may eventually end up at first base at some point. I know that was a mailbag question from one of our Padres fans a few weeks ago, but we'll see. We'll see.
And again, right, you look at it and say, okay, from the Padres' perspective, the Diamondbacks ended up paying, the Cardinals ended up paying down 31 of the $42 million he was owed. So for the Diamondbacks, it's essentially a 2-year, $11 million deal. And at that price point, does it make sense to take a shot? Sure, but I would say especially if he's still playing third base, which last year he was okay over there, and the year before he was great. There's still defensive value there. Moving him to first base, needing him to mash with the offensive decline that has happened, it's just not the best fit. And we've seen this happen all with the Padres. They chase the biggest name, the biggest star, even when they don't have much left or it's not really a great fit.
Wow. Okay. I appreciate it. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see the future for the Padres. I appreciate your feedback, your insight on J.P. Sears, on Randy Vasquez. We'll see what happens with the Padres' pursuit of a first baseman. Hopefully this week, now that some of these bigger names are off the board, hopefully that means smaller signings and some trade action. Weeks till spring training. We have to make our plans. All right, good stuff, Kyle Glaser. Good stuff. Don't forget, Padres fans, we will answer your questions on this team, on this roster, any concerns you have. You want to get your angst out on Kyle Tucker and the Dodgers? Go for it. At Kyle Glaser, at Marty Caswell, at Friar Territory. Thank you so much for watching Friar Territory on the Foul Territory TV network. We will talk to you on Thursday.